You straight up cuckooed that dude, bro. Oh my God.
He's got all your Charger gear on because
I look good. I got big energy every day. Let's go!
And he is dead.
Blind squirrel finds every once in a while.
That's right.
You have to love what you're seeing on tape if you're a Chargers fan, especially for the future with Justin
Herbert on the move and throws and touchdown.
Good ball, Herb. Good ball, Herb.
You don't let all the noise affect you. You don't worry about what's going on outside of the field.
Stay tuned for some good content.
Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Charger Chat. I'm your co-host, Wooldog, sitting with my buddies, Kev, Hug, and Duggan.
We are back off-season time, and we got some fun news.
Ooh, it's juicy, folks. But let's not forget Kyle, the coach, Duggan.
Yep, we're here. I'm excited. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm all. It's like watching a Charger game. Our whole organization is just anxiety and worry and excitement.
For those of you who aren't aware, and I'm sure you all are, we announced who our coach was. Finally, we can have an episode after news is announced and not have to wait a whole week before we do an episode. So, Chargers, you timed it just right. We really appreciate it. They announced our new coach, our main man, Brandon Staley, the Rams defensive coordinator, is now the Chargers head coach. And just to give you guys a little bit of taste of what we're in for, my main man, Kev, Hug, and Duggan put together a supercut of some people talking about Staley, and it is pretty sweet. Roll it, DJ Kev.
Let's go.
Time now for sports. Some breaking news to start off our sports report.
Brandon Staley will be named the new head coach of the Chargers, and this comes at a time when the Chargers are absolutely loaded with talent.
Yeah, the Chargers very stealth in the head coach search. I know a lot of people were looking a lot of different directions. They were always looking at Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams.
And it's an amazing ascension for the 37-year-old Brandon Staley.
When this whole process started, Brandon Staley's name, I mean, you talk to people who are really inside, they're like, he is a hot candidate. There was a big expectation that Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll was going to be the guy for the Chargers and to take Justin Herbert to that next level. And that's going to be the big question for Brandon Staley.
It used to be like you wouldn't even consider somebody in their early 30s. That's a position coach. You wouldn't even give him a coordinator job. Like Sean McVay walked in, the Rams were like, we can't let him out of the building. And that's what the Chargers did.
Oh, hey, Jalen, what makes you think he'll be successful as a head coach?
He's the best defensive coordinator that I've had, for sure, in the NFL, and that's no shot to anybody else. I just really think that he's great at what he does. He's a genius. He's smart. He knows how to use his players and put them in positions to make plays or have impact and effect on the game. He knows how to get the best out of people, calm people down, keep us going throughout the games. I think he's great. There's nothing negative literally nothing negative that I can say about him. I think he would be an amazing head coach.
It's exciting to see a player reach his full potential. And I think that as a coach, that's what you're after. You want your players to become, what they're capable of being. There really is a gear that you got to be able to get to in terms of operating. When you see a formation, when you see a personnel grouping, when there's an unscouted look that maybe, you didn't see in the preparation, how quickly, do you respond to it? And then how quickly do you make adjustments within the game? These guys are so good on the other side, and how quickly can you adjust your stuff out? The way you improve is by being really intentional.
Oh man, I didn't even listen to all of it because I was so excited with the music.
Dude, that turned into a
dancing there.
Dance party, guys.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like
You could have seen us. Shit turned into a dance party.
That's the best way to celebrate this hire, is just to dance about it, man. This is really exciting. It when it came out, obviously everybody was thrown for a loop. We were all expecting Daboll. That's all we were expecting.
I had just finished watching Sunday Night Football with the Bucs Saints. Was kind of a little bit sad watching Drew Brees walk off for potentially the last time. And then all of a sudden I get an alert on my phone and I call Kevin as fast as I possibly can. And then I'm just like all night Googling, YouTubing, trying to find anything and everything I can. Because I knew we had interviewed him, but I didn't really put much weight to it.
No.
Because in the last 5 or 6 days, it's been all Daboll, Craig, Daboll for the last 12 months.
Dude, Tommy T is a fucking ninja.
I know.
Like, literally, you can't get anything out of him. Like, it goes back to the Joey Bosa getting signed without us knowing. Literally, like, even Daboll, like, there was a tweet earlier where he was like, I thought he was getting the job, and he's just now like, okay, I guess I didn't get that job, so I'll be the Bills.
I guess I'll stay
like,
here. Yeah.
Dable didn't even know what was going on. It's just
you
like,
don't want to be
crazy.
you don't want to be a coach of the teams that are left, so it's better off just waiting to see what happens till next year.
Yeah,
crazy. Just
it's crazy, man.
It blew my mind. One of the things in that, listening through all those interviews and all that stuff that I thought was interesting is like, Jalen Ramsey said that he played for both Gus Bradley and Staley.
Right.
And he didn't have, he said Staley was the best D coordinator he's ever had.
And Wade Phillips. He played under Wade Phillips, one of the best defensive coordinators ever to coach. And he's saying that this young buck, Staley, is the guy.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So here's my kind of general take on this is like, he is either the biggest con artist with his ability to go from not coaching in the NFL to a head coach in 4 years. He's either the most amazing con artist of all time.
Straight up like Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can.
Exactly. Good pull, Kyle. Good pull.
Good pull.
Or he's legit. Like, he is that impressive that it's like a Wunderkind kind of thing. And we're going to find out, but I'm kind of leaning towards Wunderkind if he's impressing everyone, and everyone has something good to say about him.
Right.
So we'll get into a lot of the quotes, but I think that's my kind of take. Like, he's a con man or not a con man. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think really the biggest thing that everybody took away from even his name getting mentioned prior was that this is a defensive-minded head coach, and one that there was only a few that were being considered for the position. So really that was kind of the biggest thing we took away. But once his name got announced, it's like, okay, I got to take a look at this guy. I need to figure out a little bit more. And when I pull up the Wikipedia, all I see is a few years of coaching. And I didn't quite realize that was the amount of time this guy has spent in the NFL. He had, what was it, like a year or two in Chicago, a year or two in Denver, and then like,
it was a year in Denver, 2 in Chicago, one in LA, and now he's
a head freaking coach. That's unbelievable. I was really, I didn't know what to feel. I texted you guys. I was like, can somebody check on Craig? I don't know if he's all right. He might be flatlining right now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it. You got to imagine that this office, knowing the situation with Herbert, knowing what the future of this team is, pick this guy for a reason. Not, they didn't just, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just one of my things. Like, I put together a little bit of like a likes and a concerns, not a dislikes, because I don't dislike anything. It's just the stuff that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
One of the things is not necessarily he's a con artist, but maybe he's just a really good interview. I've worked in positions where I interviewed people for jobs, and they were a great interview, and they really, really sucked at their job. And like, I would not have known. They had the resume. They had a good interview. They seemed to be a good fit. And then all of a sudden they just didn't show up, didn't work hard. So like, that's one little area of concern. And there's a lot of things that
But number one defense.
I was going to say, like,
I'm saying there's a lot of things that trump it for sure.
Yeah.
But being a head coach without having the history of having done it, a lot of the interview process, he will have, all that we can go on is based on what he answered questions, because we don't know what he's done with overseeing an offense. All he's ever done is coordinated defense. Now, he was a QB in college and in high school, so he has that identity. Like, he knows offense, but we've never seen him look over an offense. So now that he's doing it, all that we can go off is based on what he said. Which I'm not saying he's going to do a bad job. It's just a concern of mine that you're going based off of basically his interview, which I'm sure he killed it, but interviews don't always translate to actually doing what you said that you were potentially going to do. So it's just a concern of mine. Like, there's a lot of likes. For instance, obviously I love hearing what his previous players said, right? Jalen Ramsey coming out and saying he's the best defensive coordinator I've ever played for.
Right.
Talking about how he looks at it from a quarterback's perspective, and he's able to explain things to me in a new way that I've never heard before. Seeing how excited the Chargers are, I'm not going to lie, like, that gets me excited about a coach.
I'm pumped.
Seeing, right? Derwin James, Kenneth Murray, Drew Tranquil, these guys, Herbert even threw it up on his Instagram. Like, they're excited. So that makes me excited if our guys are going to be behind him. And Derwin James, obviously having a relationship with Jalen Ramsey because of Florida State, he's talked to him. He knows what Jalen Ramsey thinks of this guy behind the scenes. He seems pretty pumped. So that's exciting. Another is we probably got him on the cheap. Coaches are not cheap anymore. Belichick is the highest paid at $12 million a year. Gruden's $10 million a year. But that Matt Rule, who came out of college last year, who's the Panthers coach, he gets getting $8 million a year.
Wow.
I can't imagine that we paid Brandon Staley that much, which probably is it's kind of a concern also, as to hiring Brandon Staley. We probably got him on the cheaper side. Obviously, all the things he doesn't have a huge coaching career in the NFL levels yet. He's never done it as a head coach. So that's a good and kind of maybe a potential concern. I love the idea of a young guy that has a ton of energy. I think that with the players now that we have in the NFL, they're not old school. They're not that I'm just going to show up and work no matter what. They're hey, I'm not playing if you don't let me pick my coach type of guys. Mm-hmm. So I love that he has got that energy, excitement, and get after it. Obviously, hearing what McVay said about him, that's awesome. One of the best young coaches in the NFL is giving him praise.
There was a good quote from him. He said, "When you talk football, I'd like to think that I love football as much as anybody. You're sitting there and you're thinking, this guy might be sicker than I am." That's pretty awesome. He's, by all accounts, he's in it.
Right. And his ability to get the most out of his studs, right? Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey both have career years. That's what I want to see. I want to see you can evaluate a defense, evaluate abilities, and put them in places to make the most plays.
That's what seemed to be one of his biggest accomplishments being in LA was they went from having a defense, they lost some players to free agency, they really kind of had to re-scheme stuff. And from what they were saying, they had players that were able to do multiple things. They weren't just, this is my position and I'm just going to do this. It was multiple players that were getting, tackles for a loss, multiple players getting sacks. For us, Joey Bosa was that big guy to make all of those things happen. But for the Rams, they had multiple people. So he seems to really be able to scheme that defense to be pretty, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Diverse?
Multi-dimensional?
Yeah, there you go. Diverse, multi-dimensional. You knocked it out of the park. It's
that's what we're here for.
That's a team game. This is a team game.
And I can't imagine that the Chargers hired him strictly off of interview. I'm sure they looked at tape. I'm sure they talked to everybody. Everybody's got such great things to say about this guy. It's just he's not been in this position before. So you're taking a risk, especially again with the future of Justin Herbert. It could go really bad, or this could be amazing. This could be the start of this franchise having a Staley Herbert lifetime.
Here's my thing with this whole Herbert take everyone's saying we're you're really going to throw him off by not having anyone. Couple things. One, he's never had it before, really. He's never had consistency.
So why give it to him now?
But my point is
Justin's
not a snowflake. He's not this guy you need to really, oh God, we need to get the perfect guys in here. Dude, it doesn't need that. So if you can get a guy that can elevate the whole team and you keep a Pep Hamilton, you bring in another offensive coordinator, you give him some kind of consistency, what he's capable of doing so outweighs this big concern for everybody oh, we need an offensive-minded head coach for him to really excel. You can't say that. We're not going to say that yet. So I think the whole idea of oh, we missed Daboll and we're getting this guy and he's a defensive-minded coach, blah, 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 blah. Kyle, your big checkbox that you said that, was either head coaching experience or you wanted a defensive-minded head coach. And we have that.
Yeah, I love that he was a defensive guy. I understand the concern. You can hear that and be yeah, that makes sense as a concern that anyone that comes in as his OC, Justin and our offense are Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, Mike Williams. They're going to make that guy look really good. Mm-hmm. They made Shane Steichen look really good. We don't even know much. Shane Steichen was a new guy too. We don't really talk. This is his first full year as an offensive coordinator, and he had a top 10 offense. And they made him look really good to the point where he's probably going to be able to find another job pretty easy if he's not if we don't hold on to him. But in the same way, if somebody comes in and does a good job, there's a potential for a high turnover. There may be a new OC every couple of years, sometimes back-to-back years, which I know it's not like that means we're doomed, but that's not fun for any like player to have to learn a whole new playbook, new terminology every single year. Whereas if the head coach is offensive minded, you're going to keep terminology. You're going to keep at least playbook. The play calling may adjust based on the new OC, but there will be some form. So I understand the concern, but I agree. I don't think that's why you don't hire Staley if that's your guy. You're not going to be like, no, we're not doing it because he's not an offensive-minded guy.
But he played quarterback, and like you said, he breaks down some of the best defensive coordinators understand offenses so well.
Right.
Like, so I think that, like what you said.
But he's not going to have terminology built and act like he's going to have a philosophy on what he wants his offense to do. But he's not going to, he might not have all those tiny details that we'll be able to translate year to year to year. And that's not to say maybe he's just a genius and we hired the smartest young coach in the world. But yeah, you don't know. I mean, I think as long as your head coach stays consistent, the other stuff can change. And if he's a good head coach, he'll be able to kind of not ruffle any feathers and mellow the changes out.
What I love about what you said, though, is like, this is a problem for the future that would be a good problem to have. If we're so good and we're playing so well that we can just bring in new offensive coordinators because they're going to get head coaching jobs, that is a huge perk. That is something we've never had. So if that means that this team is so damn good, I would love that problem. So, that take is, it just seems like such wishy-washy, trying to find problems with something.
Trying to find a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I can see how you could get worried about it, but I'm not worried about it yet. That's not something I'm like, that's the least of my concerns right now.
Right. And I would have to imagine that people would look at it the same way that they're looking at Bieniemy with Kansas City. The idea that he's not necessarily the one making the calls, it's Andy Reid. I have to think that the same situation would probably happen for the Chargers, where somebody would look at an offensive coordinator and go, I mean, he might be good, but it's Justin Herbert that's making this guy look so good. And they would have to take that into consideration. So I mean, is it possible? Absolutely. Anything is possible. But I don't know that people would overlook the fact that, dude, you have Justin Herbert. You have the guy that has broken just about every single rookie record possible.
I think a good Peter Schrager from NFL Good Morning Football tweeted, he said, concerns with Brandon Staley being a defensive coach and Justin Herbert being a young quarterback. And then he said, Staley was a highly decorated high school QB in Ohio, played QB at Dayton, and has connected with QBs at the community college, D3, D1, and NFL levels. Chargers got a great head coach today. So,
agreed.
I'm excited, man. It wasn't, this is the same problem I have. And now there's record of it every time we do a podcast that we're locked into these things. And I learned the hard way with Tua and Herbert, like, whatever the hype is, whatever people are saying on social media or on network TV or on radio, you just got to be careful because we're kind of batting zero right now, at least on these last two picks. Like we're not doing so great. So, maybe we don't know as much as we like to think we do.
Right.
And I hope I'm wrong. I hope Urban Meyer is Urban Meyer and whatever down there, and Dayball, whatever. I hope that it'll all work out. That's what I'm hoping for.
Right.
Yeah. And we went into it. We went into this whole coaching search talk from 8 weeks ago after the Patriots game. We all went into it with like look, guys, I'm not going to pick a side. I have no idea. I have no control. There's a lot of different factors going into picking the head coach of your football team. And yeah, I'm pumped. Brandon Staley's got my full support. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what happens.
And Brandon Staley had a good quote because he hasn't had his press conference yet. I think that's happening on Thursday.
Right.
And he said, while this is certainly a dream come true, it also a dream that's just beginning. There's a reason this was probably the most sought after job out there, from ownership to the fans. Thank you. To the city, to the men in that locker room. It's a total package. It's right. It's a
Yeah.
Total package.
Take the whole thing, baby.
Take a whole
Whoa.
package.
Okay.
Good morning. We digress.
We're trying to monetize soon, guys. The other pro for Brandon Staley is that he's got a name that everyone can pronounce. Is it Dable, Dabble, Doball?
Yeah, we dodged a bullet. I was going to mess that
dodged
up
a
the
big
whole
bullet.
time.
Yeah. Brandon Staley's nice and safe.
Brandon. That's what a just normal American name. Brandon Staley.
It's so easy. Yeah, I can't
Love
mess
it.
that up.
My biggest sadness of not picking up Dable was I was actually kind of looking forward to maybe trying to impersonate him with my bald head and my beard, like doing some like weird like.
That's true. You still can. You could just do the
I could
"you guys
try.
should have hired me" thing.
Yeah, just cross my arms.
Yeah.
Bald guy.
Stick it, Spanos.
Yeah,
Spani.
there's been a lot of chatter about Staley. Obviously, when the news broke, I think everybody had to kind of like immediately dive into the internet and find out like everything they could about this guy. Dan Popper tweeted out, Chargers GM Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley. He excels in the ability to effectively tailor, apply, and communicate his concepts to players. That to me, I think, is huge. That everybody has said great things about this guy. The fact that he's able to communicate with players in a way that everybody understands, that just
Thanks for saying things in ways that I can understand.
Thank you,
Dan.
Lieutenant Staley.
Lieutenant Staley. Ice cream.
It just, I don't know. That feels
That's coaching.
That's coaching, but it's like I don't know.
It really is.
There's something about that holds a leadership quality to it. And again, that was one of my biggest concerns was when you lose Anthony Lynn, that all the players supported on the team, getting somebody now to fill that spot that they are going to also not just support, but connect with, understand with.
Maybe it's that he's not too NFL yet, like he's not too
could be
over the top. Like I've coached in this league for 400 years. You need to know what I'm saying and do it right now.
Yeah, you learn what I'm saying. I'm not learning what you're saying.
I'm sure he was around McVay Rose a lot too, and watching him do his thing. You wouldn't want to follow that lead
let's
either.
Let's go. We're excited. I'm going to jump on your back.
We love,
yeah.
Go Rams. Go Rams. So yeah.
Go Rams. Yeah, that's the interesting thing too. Like the dude didn't really have to go very far. He went from SoFi Stadium to SoFi Stadium.
Hopefully he doesn't mess up what locker room he goes into. That'd be awkward.
I'm sure that helps in the moving package. You're not having to spend too much money on finding a new house. That's like, I'm just going to put that in my pocket
for the
right
Chargers.
now.
I'm sure his wife and kids are pumped.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is he even married? Does he have kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
Married, 3 kids.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, he
Killing
said
it.
the Staleys are all excited to be Chargers. Bolt up. That was his little video he threw out there for
perfect.
all of his fans.
Yeah. The more I learn about this guy, the more excited I get. Let's see. Ramirez tweeted out Chargers GM Tom Telesco and new head coach Brandon Staley. He's the football equivalent of a gym rat, and that has earned him the universal respect of the players he has coached throughout his journey.
Well, to go back what we were talking about too, like the getting the players to respect him. You know what players respect? It was winning. Players respect the ability to like get bigger contracts and set records and be put in a place to excel. So I think everything people are talking about him, all these quotes from these Rams players, having had him for only 1 year, it seems like all of them are just really sad that he's gone. So that's a huge thing for us. That's great.
It's you keep going. I keep going back to that, man, but that was only 1 year that he was a defensive coordinator, and he's already a head coach.
If you look at Anthony Lynn on a 1 year basis, he took us to the playoffs and won a playoff game. Right. But if that's all the sample size that you have, so I don't know. I'm excited. There's a lot of likes, but at the end of the day, in the back of your mind, there is like some concern. I don't know, man. Like I just don't know. I am really pumped.
I'm on the train.
I'm 100% on. I'm really excited. I hope he's the best coach to ever coach in the National Football League. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of risks that the Chargers took on. If Tommy T misses on this, that's tough, man. When you had some well-established kind of blue chip guys that you could have taken a chance on, you went with the 38-year-old coached in the NFL for 3 years. Before that, D3 John Carroll. You know what I mean?
Still works for me. He's older than me, so I'm cool with it.
It still fits your criteria.
Still fits my criteria. It's check my box off right there.
And he's hiring an entire rocket power staff.
Dude, they're all going to be under 40. This whole staff's going to be under 40 years old. It's insane. They just picked up. They've already hired. I believe it's Frank Smith is leaving the Raiders, and he's joining. He was a tight ends coach. He's now going to be like running game specialist. I think. I'm not sure what that position is. Run game coordinator, which sounds made up, but I'm all on board. But apparently he was essential in getting Waller the crazy stats and yards he's had. So another thing I'm seeing on social media, people being like, "Oh man, we lost him. That sucks." So hey, maybe he's pulling in all these, under 40. We're gonna have the youngest head coaching staff in history.
I don't know what our coaching staff's gonna look like, because I saw a report that Frank Smith, that guy you're talking about, the Raiders tight end coach, is going to become the offensive line coach and running game coordinator. So James Campen got 1 year, and he put all of his eggs in that Balaga basket. Now,
I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll find out. We'll know a lot more in a couple of weeks. Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe they'll call you, Kyle. You're 35, right?
I'm
golden
30.
for it. 35.
If things are, you're 36. How am I 35?
I don't know. I didn't do the math.
The way things are trending in the NFL right now, I might have a shot here in a couple of years.
Oh, God.
One of the things, and I'm gonna quote this from Reddit, that it really kind of piqued my interest. Whenever we're talking about, like, man, he only had 1 year. This was on Reddit. This was from Boltbacker83. I want to make sure I credit you properly. Put this out on Reddit. Said a 35-year-old coach who was a D coordinator just one season was given a head coaching job for a team with a hot young QB. Most were shocked by the hiring. It was 2007. His name was Mike Tomlin. So looking, it's a risk. It's a risk regardless, but it can work. It can absolutely work. And
wow.
I'm excited to see
not
where
know
this
that. Mike Tomlin.
I didn't either.
Young.
Apparently so, back in 2007.
Yeah, he's only 48 years old now, and he seems like he's been there for an eternity. Wow, that's crazy.
I know.
All right, Staley.
That's what's so exciting,
Let's
man.
go.
Like, getting Staley and Herbert for the next
comparison.
Well, if you get it, it's just like, it's crazy to think that like Tomlin has been their coach for like 12 years. As a Charger fan, when's the last time we had a coach for more than 4 years? You know what I mean? It's like, to think that Brandon Staley, if he is that guy and you get him when he's 38, he could be a 20-year, 25-year coach of the Chargers.
25-year coach.
No, I mean,
why not?
Belichick is that old?
Yeah.
That puts him at 65 or 63. That's not that old to be a coach.
We have swung this pendulum has swung so fast from being not sure does the coaching till he's charged until he's 65.
No. I'm not saying he's
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's the funniest shit I've heard.
What has this podcast always been? Shamelessly freaking positive. Yeah. So
we just found our coach.
Let's not change that.
60.
Yeah.
Let's
go. Oh my God. Okay.
We'll see.
Brandon,
we're on your side, dude.
We are 100% on your side, big guy. We're skeptical. We want to see you in action. That's what's really going to make us feel like, okay, we are what this team's going to be. But there's so much to happen between now and the next season. We've still got a draft to go through to figure out who we're going to be picking up in the draft. We got to figure out every coaching position. We don't know who our D coordinator is going to be just yet. There's still names getting tossed around there as well.
I don't think the D coordinator is a concern with him being the best D coordinator in the league.
Well, they talked about they already have names flying around. That guy, the Colts defensive back coach, Jonathan Gannon. The Bears also are bringing him in as an interview for DC too. So if you want to throw that out there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's going to be crazy to see how this shakes up in the next couple of weeks. All honesty, man. Like there's so many moving pieces and there's so much. But the thing is, there's so much speculation. But dude, all our speculation leading up to this was dead wrong that we were even going to get him. So I'm just going to hang out, put my hands underneath my butt, sit down and not touch my phone until we find out exactly who is who, because it's a shit show at this point. I have no idea. The ninja that is Tom Telesco is going to pull something out. And by all accounts, he said by all accounts, he's going to allow Staley to pick his staff. So we'll see. we'll see what he decides.
Just got to wait and see. Right now, there's been no talk. I mean, there's been all of this is going to be just rumblings. Like when you see from Adam Schefter tweeting, Daboll is the favorite to go to Chargers. It's like, obviously that wasn't the case. So some of the tweets going around right now is that for the OC job, Kevin O'Donnell, who's currently the Rams offensive coordinator, and Thomas Brown, currently the Rams running back coach, might be considered for the offensive coordinator. Again, Steichen might still be around for offensive coordinator.
Pep Hamilton's
his name's been thrown around. So everything is just kind of up in the air, willy-nilly. I don't know that we necessarily have a preference when it comes to offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, but because of the way the Chargers have been playing it, like, let's just wait and see, because obviously whatever we think it's going to be, they zig when they should have zagged. That kind of like, you don't know where it's going to end up. It's just crazy, the pedigree that this guy comes from, looking at where he came from.
Literally, Tom Telesco is connected to everybody in this league. So Telesco was connected to Daboll from high school. Tom Telesco is connected to Staley through John Carroll, the college. I think Telesco played there, so it's just kind of, dude, it's like what is it, how many degrees of Kevin Bacon? It's like, how many degrees of Tom Telesco can you connect him to somebody? Because it's he's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Right, he's clearly got some influence, and it's just crazy that out of John Carroll, there was also Don Shula, the Hall of Fame coach for the Baltimore Colts and the Miami Dolphins. Came from John Carroll. Where is John Carroll? Like, what state is that even in? Like,
it's
I've never
in Ohio.
heard of this.
Yeah, it's in Ohio.
Wow.
It's D3 Ohio football. Yeah, it puts out some serious football coaches. Josh McDaniels, Greg Roman, and then executives, obviously Tommy T, Nick Caserio, Dave Caldwell, Chris Polian, Pat Moriarty, David Ziegler. Like, the NFL is very connected to John Carroll, apparently.
Yeah, that's so weird.
I don't know. I don't get it. I've never heard of a
Considering
Division
we've never
III
heard of
school
it.
with
Right.
that kind of with that kind of ties.
No, it's nuts.
Again, we mentioned it earlier. The players, everybody's got something nice to say about this guy. Like, and not just he's a good dude. Like, looking at Aaron Donald, he says we're playing consistent football in his defense. Linebacker Leonard Floyd, cornerback Troy Hill, Darius Williams, and safety John Fuller and John Johnson. Williams said the dude's a genius. I like his energy. It's kind of like McVay of the defense, almost the way he talks and how smart he is. I feel like that's what I needed. We're feeding off it, and I feel it just seeing how in tune the players are with him. Hill said he's always studying. Johnson said he'll shoot me a text at a random time of day about something, not even important, just about football, something that he saw. Like, obviously, one of the benefits of him being a younger coach is dude's got some pep. He's got some energy.
He'll slide into your DMs, dude. He knows
how to
DMs
text.
are.
That's right. He'll shoot you some emojis at 10 o'clock at night and get your attention.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. The limited time he's been in the league, like some of the guys that he's worked with. He's worked with Khalil Mack when he was in Chicago. He worked with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. Like, he's worked with some of the top guys, so he's kind of lucky in the sense that he's moved that to Donald, and now he's moving to Bosa. Like, that's just talk about being in the right place at the right time, and it's all kind of working out. So he's had players.
Yeah, he's going from having just the Rams defense, which was questionable on how they would perform this year, and by all accounts performed the best, to coming to the Chargers, which again is just so, we hear it every year, they're just chock full of talent, and it's injuries that always us over. So hopefully this next year it doesn't, and Staley can actually have an influence on how this defense performs. I mean, watching some of the tape on how Staley schemes against other teams, I was actually kind of really impressed. I'm a dum-dum, so I don't really know a lot about what players should be doing and what kind of defenses are run, but just watching what you think a defense is going to do against an offense, and then all of a sudden guys are getting shifted around, or you think they're going to blitz, but then they pull back, and it's just, I don't know, it's really intriguing. Was there anything that you saw, Kyle, that jumped out at you in looking at some of his defensive schemes?
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this week's Coach's Corner. So we didn't do an instant reaction to Staley getting hired, we wanted to have a little bit of time to do some research, look through some of his stuff, digest. Yeah, really kind of just chew on it for a day. And I was able to watch some cut up, some tape, watch a couple of his games and see just a little bit of like what he did. I also wanted to look back at his history, like coaching under Vic Fangio in Chicago and also in Denver. What kind of defense that was, what kind of defense he ran at John Carroll. He's got very limited tape on what he does because he was only a DC for 1 year. So I kind of had to go back and look a little bit at what his history has been and see if the 3-4 is his defense or if that's just, hey, the Rams, McVay said, hey, this is what we run. This is what you got to run because this is what our talent is. And it appears as though the 3-4 personnel defense is what he does. But there was a couple of things that I looked at just to kind of break down. So at John Carroll, he did run a 3-4. Vic Fangio runs a 3-4. The Rams this last year ran a 3-4, and he was the number one the number one defense this year in the NFL running that 3-4. Got all that praise running this defense. So he clearly understands it extremely well. I don't anticipate the Chargers not converting over to a 3-4 defense. What are we currently? We're currently run a 4-3.
Okay.
So I'll get into a little bit what that means later on, but I wanted to look at just when I looked at his defense, kind of his personality, the way that he coaches. One of the biggest things as a Charger fan that we had frustrations with this year was, what did we do? What did Gus Bradley do when we had a lead, right? We went into halftime with so many big leads and went into that soft cover 3, sit back, let them pick you apart as long as the clock runs type of a defense. And we all of us as fans, I'm a cover 3 guy and I still hated watching it. Yeah. It didn't seem like we even mixed things up at all. It was just, this is what we're going to run, try to catch us type of a defensive scheme. I watched one game, the whole second half. The Rams weren't really up like we were. Like the Chargers, the leads that we had at halftime were not consistent around the league. The Rams, who were a playoff team getting into the second round of the playoff, they didn't have huge leads at halftime. So it was kind of hard for me to find a big disparaging, hey, what do you do when you have a lead type of a team? But I watched what they did against the Washington football team. They were up 20-10 at half. That was one of their bigger leads at halftime. They're up 10 points, which is pretty substantial. And they ended up winning that game 30-10. But something that I noticed trying to find, I tried to find that game that there was kind of a hey, what are you going to do? You go into halftime, your team's playing well. What are you going to adjust and what scheme are you going to come out in? First play of the second half, up 20-10. Jalen Ramsey is playing in the slot, right? Like Jalen Ramsey is the best cover corner in the entire league. You don't just take him out of his main position unless you're still taking risks. You're still playing that football game and strategizing and trying to catch him off guard. I guarantee you Gus Bradley has Jalen Ramsey as a number one outside running, maybe even spying the number one receiver the entire game. Staley said, nope, I'm still going to do my normal stuff and I'm going to mix things up. You're not going to know what's coming. And Ramsey's going to play in the slot here in this first snap. First series, they got them to a 3rd and 13 and they rushed 5. 3rd and 13 when you're up 10 and they still blitz an extra guy. Wow. So, and all of that said, Washington didn't get one first down in the second half.
I love that.
I watched the whole second half. They didn't get one first down in the second half. They were down 20-10 going into it. So that's a time where you could have played a little bit conservative. It didn't seem like he changed it. If anything, he saw what they did and made adjustments to shut them down even more because they didn't score a point. They didn't get a first down in the second half.
Love
so it doesn't seem like they're really
my appetite
backed off
here, Kyle.
Right. So it seems like he has that. I'm going to attack you until the game's over. I'm not going to, our offense is pretty solid. We have a good running game. We'll run the clock out. You just no big plays. He doesn't have that mindset. Looking at his defense,
tenacious.
Yeah. Main coverages. He runs all of them. I mean, Gus Bradley technically runs all of them. Obviously, we know cover 3 was his favorite. In Staley's 3-4, there's usually always 2 high safeties to start the play. They don't always run cover 2 or cover 4, but there's 2 high safeties to start the play pretty much always. Like consistently, there's 2 high safeties up there. And when a quarterback sees that, he thinks cover 2, cover 4. But a lot of the times, one of those safeties, which would be our Derwin James, runs down in the box and he's playing like a hook curl cover if they're in cover 3, or he jumps down on a tight end or a slot receiver. So it just gives a different look. You don't know what they're running all the time. So in a 3-4, you have 3 linemen. So that means 1 backer is always blitzing, and you don't know what the safeties are doing coming up, coming down. So it adds 2 levels of confusion of, I don't know who's blitzing. I don't know what coverage they're in. Pretty much every play is what it kind of seemed like. Now, the one thing I'm worried about is the best player on our football team is Joey Bosa. And in my opinion, I think his best position is a 4-3 defensive end, because he's able to stay out wide. He still makes plays against the run, but he's in a much better pass rushing situation. But when I watch the defense that Staley runs, it looks like on a lot of plays, a lot of possessions where it's a passing down, their defensive tackle, quote unquote defensive tackle, is split out pretty wide. He's in basically what looks like a 4-3 defensive end technique. He's outside in a 5, like a wide 5 technique, meaning he's way outside the tackle, which was what Joey Bosa is extremely comfortable doing. So the personnel is a 3-4, meaning 3 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers. But when you just look at it, it looks still like a 4-3, kind of, with the way that the alignment is. So that was encouraging to me, that Joey Bosa is still going to be able to get after the pass rush, and not be completely have to do something totally different. I would never limit Joey Bosa. I'm sure he could run a 3-4 defensive tackle like better than anyone else in the league. I just like the idea of having some consistency for him, in his ability to be comfortable getting after the pass rusher with his normal pass rush moves. The other thing I looked at really was how often does he blitz? You could say he blitzes every play because it's a 3-4. So you're bringing 4 almost every single 95% of the time. So he's blitzing 1 linebacker. You just don't know who it is. I think that benefits, and we can talk this a little bit, all 3 of us. And there's one of our Twitter questions later on about personnel and stuff. But I think that's going to help Kenneth Murray out the most, because that man needs to go. Yeah. You need to send him, pin his ears back and let him get after the quarterback. Whether he's coming out the edge or up the middle, you need to blitz that man more. And I think this will allow that. You don't have to give up coverage at all, because he could just be your 4th rusher a lot. And he doesn't have to sit back, or Denzel Perryman, if we repay him, let him go get after the quarterback a little bit. Let
him go crazy.
Yeah, just let him go. And it doesn't affect your coverage. You can still run your same kind of cover 3 look, but you get to blitz one of your linebackers who's dynamic and can come and make something happen. So I think for sure we're going to be in a 3-4 next year. What that does to our roster, I think it's going to do a lot. So I looked at just the difference between the Chargers roster and the Rams roster. So what, you guys, offense, defense, special teams, what was the biggest struggle that we had this year?
Special teams.
Yeah.
Right? Easy.
Hands
done.
down.
Special teams. We sucked.
Yeah.
A lot. Like bad.
Hands
we lost
down.
games because of our special teams. The major position that has an influence on special teams is safety and linebackers. So our roster, the Chargers had 13 defensive linemen on our roster and 8 linebackers. The Rams had 9 defensive linemen and 12 linebackers. It just goes to show you when you run a 3-4, you carry more linebackers because there's 4 always in the game.
Yeah, and those guys are better on kick coverage and are not little linemen running down the field all slow like.
Exactly. Well, you just have more depth at all those positions. So you're obviously not going to play many defensive linemen on special teams, but now you have your 3 deep at some of those linebacker spots, and they can get after it on special teams. So it just does a whole lot to building your roster, being more dynamic, giving a lot of different looks. So I'm really excited to see what it does to our team overall. I think there's some guys on our roster that know that it's going to be tough for them to make the squad next year. Some of those guys that play that defensive tackle spot in a 4-3, because they're basically eliminated as a position altogether. But I'm excited as a fan. I feel bad for those guys that have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the Chargers, but I'm sure they'll land on their feet somewhere.
Who would you say, like, just out of the popular names, who would you say out of the defensive tackles or the D linemen you're thinking we're probably going to part ways with this new defensive front?
I don't know. I don't think there's any popular names. I think anybody that's a big time talent, you could turn him into a backup zero technique in a 3-4. But I think like the Damian Squares, the Cortez Broughtons, the Braden Fajokos, unfortunately, I think those kind of guys are going to have a tough time finding a spot on that depth chart in a 3-4.
And do you think some of those players seeing him come in knowing they're going to run a 3-4 most likely are like, oh shit?
Yeah. Most guys that run a 3 technique, which is a defensive tackle in a 4-3, they know that, hey, we're running a 3-4. I don't necessarily fit that mold of a zero technique is like a Linval Joseph, big guy, take 2 run blockers.
Yeah, we got that on lock.
Right. Most of the defensive tackles in a 3-4 are they're also big run stoppers, but you have to be a little bit more dynamic than just that big bodied. The 3 technique is like a hybrid between a 1 and a 4, and the 4 techniques are like the Joey Bosa's and the Jerry Tillery types. I think the move to a 3-4 really, of all of our roster, it helps Jerry Tillery the most. I think he's that guy. He's kind of a tweener on a 4-3.
Got it. Awesome, dude. That was great. Thank you for that.
Wow.
That was very enlightening, at least for me. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, same. Yeah, same for me. The more you know, the more comfortable you are with any kind of change. So for me, it's like I'm just sitting here, I'm giving a Bosa shrug. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to expect.
I just got more excited, to be honest. Like, I was on board, but I'm kind of a bit more excited to see how that's going to help our special teams in terms of the personnel we're going to be able to keep on our roster. I love it.
That's our goal here at the Charger Chat podcast, is to get Charger fans excited.
Well, you did it, Kyle. Thank you.
Yeah,
brother.
You took the change that was scary and you made it exciting.
Good.
So thank you.
Hercules.
All right. Well, let's see if any of these other jokers are excited. We've got some sound bites here. And of course, first and foremost is our old favorite, Craig from Texas.
Oh boy, Tom Telesco, you sandbagged son of a... Yeah, guys, Craig in Texas, as you know. This is a bit of a shocker. I know, some folks out there follow me on Twitter, so you're familiar with my tirades and you knew that Brandon Staley was my 1B, but I'm not going to lie. I'm still super shocked. I'm happy about what the guy brings to the table, though. Super tough mindset. I mean, if you learn anything about his background and his history, the guy's a fighter. He beat cancer. His mother passed from it, and I believe his dad currently has it. So he's a tough hombre, man. Never going to quit on us. And that 3-4 Eagle front that I was bragging about looks like it's coming our way. And I know some folks may feel like Joey Bosa isn't going to be happy about it, but all you got to do is pull up that Rams tape and watch Aaron Donald on how they move him around. I think Joey's going to be just fine. Really curious about the staff that he brings in. I want to make sure that Herbert doesn't regress at all. And I mean, the guy's dealt with turnover ever since college, just OC and head coach after OC and head coach. But I'm sure the kid will be fine. Let's see who he brings in over the coming days and weeks. Whew. But as far as Staley goes, man, guys love him. Jalen Ramsey raved about him. And if we know anything about Jalen Ramsey, he's not one to mince words and hold his opinion back. So if he can make Jalen Ramsey happy, then that's saying something. Other than that, man, Telesco pulled a fast one on us. It looks like Dabo is probably going to hang out in Buffalo for another year and keep growing Josh Allen. Not unhappy about it. I will say that. I'm good with it. It was still a shock. But hey, we got a guy, and let's move forward. See what we got coming up. Bowl gang it old bang, fellas. Okay? Love you, bye.
You sandbagged son of a bitch.
Craig, I'm worried about it. That heavy breathing, man. Check your heart rate, dude.
I had
I'm worried
3
about
people
you.
message me. Is like, is Craig okay? Craig, I love it, dude. He's passionate. He put all of his chips in on Dable, and but he's excited. I love it.
But he quickly shifted. Yeah, he didn't hold the grudge and be like, I'm not for Staley. And he did say Staley was his 1B. He put that out there on Twitter. So that's I like you said, the 3-4 defense, we're all excited for it. We're excited for a change, something different, something more just I don't know, more dynamic is the word, just something different to watch, because we kept being
more
top
neck stompy, if you will.
Yeah, we kept being top 10, but it's like I don't care if we're a top 10 defense if we're just play defense, you know. Like,
dude, I'm telling you, like that was a cool like ranking, but it did not feel like we were a top 10 defense. Like I struggled with almost every Charger game watching them play on defense. So, you know, I'm excited.
I don't know if that's ever going to change. You just don't like when we can't score.
I think you're right, Kyle. I think you're right, but I'm a little more excited. I'm not excited, but I'm a little more excited.
Okay. Get everyone.
My therapist, my football therapist, Kyle, Coach Kyle.
I'm glad you're on board, Craig. I'm glad you're able to see the positives of everything that's happening. I think we all are. We're all still just kind of soaking it all in. This happened so quickly and so blindsided, as we've mentioned earlier in the podcast. So it's exciting. Let's just ride this train, baby. Choo choo.
Choo choo.
Let's choo choo, motherfucker. All right.
There you go. There's your title.
Shit, choo choo, motherfucker.
We're never gonna get money from this show.
Nope.
I prefer it that way.
Me too.
All right. Well, thank you, Craig. Always great to hear from you, even if you do sound like you just got back from a run. Next, we've got Scott from OC, another favorite of ours. What do you got, Scott?
This is a fun one, actually. I did I listened to this beforehand. You got to check this out.
Hey, guys. It's Scott from OC. Long time no talk, but a lot of things have gone down, and I got two things I got to share with you. So, number one, Brandon Staley. Guys, I am so freaking excited for this. This is going to be such a great hire. I mean, look, I know we wanted either Saleh or Dable, but I truly feel like we got the best of both worlds in this situation, minus previous head coaching experience. But I'm willing to look past that because, look, he had to have such an innovative and detailed plan for the offense and for Herbert. And we know that he's going to come in and revolutionize this defense. I mean, look at the coaches he's already hired as of today, being Monday. The future looks so bright, or at least for me, if you're an emotionally positive Chargers fan. But I am here for it. So look, if anybody is still on the Dable train or butthurt that we didn't get Dable, look, take your time to grieve, but soon it's time to hop off the Dable train and all aboard the Staley wagon. Plus, you know, the dude looks like the love child between Phillip Rivers and Hunter Henry, so how can you not want that? Number two, I have actually a fun little story that happened to me last week that includes one of our favorite Charger playmakers. So I was in Vegas celebrating my 21st birthday last weekend when I am waiting for a table at a restaurant when I notice there's a group of guys next to me. And by looking by their build, muscular mountains of men, to me, they appeared like football players. So I'm looking to see if I identify one of them, and I do. And I see this big, light brown, blondish hair, distinctive nose, and a rich voice that would just make Wolldog cry. And I go, is that Joey Bosa? And I couldn't tell because he went into the restaurant right away. And so I go and turn to my dad and I go, hey, I think that was Joey Bosa, but he didn't believe me. Till we walk in and we are seated not one, but two tables away from the man, the myth, the legend, Big Bear himself, Joey Bosa. And at this point, me and my dad are freaking out like little schoolgirls. And we decided to play it cool, you know, not to freak out. Season just ended. He seems like he's there with friends. And so we play it cool the whole night thinking we have a cool story to share with our friends. Until we finished our meal. And we were walking out of the restaurant, and I noticed that he wasn't sitting at his table, and I didn't think too much of it, but I went to the bathroom. And I opened the door, and lo and behold, Joey Bosa is standing right in front of me. And at that point, I have to take the opportunity. I go, excuse me, are you Joey Bosa? And he says, yes. And we go and we have a small little conversation in the bathroom. Then he has to go back to his table. But I will never forget the story of how I met Joey Bosa in the bathroom. Oh boy, it's been a good few weeks, boys. So I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are staying safe. Keep bolting up, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Okay, love you. Bye.
Happy birthday, Scott! What a fucking birthday present that was, huh?
All right,
wow.
Kev, Wool Dog, what do you say if you run into Joey Bosa in the bathroom?
Dude, I don't think I could have said, like, if it happened in the bathroom, I would have just like, that's just such a weird place. I don't know what I would have been able to
just
say.
Act like the guy giving hand sanitizer and mints as he's walking out. Try to get a tip.
That's the move, Kyle. That's the move. Try and get a tip from Joey Bosa. What a crazy.
You got a roll of certs in your pocket. You're like, can I give you a mint?
It's probably awesome. It's awesome because he's in Vegas with all that money right now. I'm sure he hit the tables and killed it.
Oh, no doubt.
Killed it.
No doubt.
That's what a.
Yeah, his dad's mafia. They own Las Vegas.
That's true.
His grandpa's mafia.
Oh man!
Wow.
Thanks, Scott, dude. That was it's always
That's awesome. What a cool story.
It's always fun to hear those, like, you know, like it's like Steve Irwin crocodile hunter. It's like seeing them in their natural habitat.
Crikey!
You know, like in the bathroom taking a piss. Crikey. Like, yeah.
That's a big Bosa over there. I'm gonna go jam my thumb up his butt.
Crikey.
Oh, crikey.
You give him a shrug. Natural mating
That's
call.
what I do. I go in, I run into him like, shrug.
Right. You wait for that moment of eye contact. You give the shrug. You get it back, and that's it. That's all that needs to happen.
And as he's walking out, you just smack him on the ass.
No words need to
go
be.
Go get him, champ.
Go get him,
Go
Tiger.
get him, big bear.
Man, Scott,
Awesome.
Great story, great energy, man. Like, I was, you were getting pumped up again, man. My heart rate.
I know.
I got a
Happy 21st as well.
Dude,
Yeah,
happy birthday,
brother.
Happy birthday. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you too. And now let's go over to Ask Twitter. The folks that have no voice, I shall give them a voice. Which voice will it be? We'll find out. First is Jiminy Crickets. Great name.
Great
AKA I Got Boots, who asked the question.
With Staley as a head coach, it seems everyone I've read or talked to have only shown positive light on the hiring. I like it, but let's play devil's advocate. What worries you about the hire?
I don't know, Van Helsing.
Yes.
Okay, so I went over all my likes earlier, but I did have some concerns. If you're playing devil's advocate,
I like that you're wording it.
yeah, it's
that
not
way.
a dislike; it's just a concern. Here's what some of them are. Obviously, I talked about previously. He's never been a head coach. Technically, he was a co-head coach for a junior college a couple of years ago.
That's more experience than Lynn had.
He's got that going for him.
Right. But he's never been a head coach in the NFL or even at the college level. So run everything that goes into being a head coach. I'm sure he knows. He's talked to a bunch of guys, but he's never done it. Being a 38-year-old head coach and putting together a staff in the NFL is not easy. Like being a 38-year-old coordinator that's really young, you know, putting together a staff and people to buy into what you're doing, never having done it before. I just know as a young head coach, I was 25 when I got my first head coaching job. It's just a hard thing. Like no matter how much you know about football or coaching, or it's just hard. Like it's just a natural thing for older men to doubt you a little bit. So that's just a concern that I have. It appears that he's putting together, like I said, this kind of rocket power coaching staff that's under 40. So maybe that's not going to be an issue. But also defensive coach, we talked about, right? You're going to need to find a new OC every couple of years. Hopefully you have to find a new OC every couple of years. But there's never been an issue for Herbs. I'm sure he'll be fine. He's the smartest quarterback in the NFL, so he'll figure it out. Another concern of mine is, did we get a guy in the cheap, right? Did Telesco, he took a homer guy that went to John Carroll, got a guy on the rise that hasn't necessarily firmly established himself in the league. He had one great year in the league. Just playing devil's advocate. We don't know a whole lot about the guy. Mm-hmm. He was a great D3 coordinator. good position coach and had one good year as a DC. So just playing devil's advocate, there's not a lot to go on.
Yeah, I don't know that there's really any other major concerns. You got to hope that front office did all of their, due diligence and figuring out who they wanted, and they picked him for a reason.
Right.
And he's got to have a plan for all of this. I can't imagine that they would have hired him without any of that already set in place.
Right. No, I can't imagine. I can't even imagine what a head coaching interview looks like. That's got to be pretty crazy. So I'm sure he had everything and he knew what to say. It's just a matter of executing it.
All right. Thank you, Chimney Crickets. I friggin' love that name. Next, we've got Ross Morrow, a.k.a. Ross Morrow 10, who asked the question. Do you think the fact that Staley doesn't have to move locations played a role in this hiring? Obviously, this wasn't the main reason for the hiring, but did this sway the decision for either side?
I don't think it made it.
I love you.
Is that Barney? Okay, let's get real here. When Kyle was little, he loved that shit. He watched Barney all the time.
Hi, Kyle.
I'd sit through it. So not to out you as a Barney lover, but you were a Barney lover, Kyle.
But you were a
4-year-old Kyle was a Barney lover.
I'm not ashamed of Barney.
Pretty dope purple dinosaur.
What would you do if you met Barney in the bathroom, Kyle? How would that go down?
Give him a shrug.
Thank him for teaching you your ABCs. I don't think it had anything to do with the position of the hiring. And people are saying that there's this element of I
hope it did.
There's no way, and there's an element of people saying we hired him before Daboll because he was the first available. That still feels I feel like this was their guy all along. All those can be debated or theorized.
Yeah. It may have been an influence for Staley. My family doesn't have to move. My kids get to stay in their schools.
Dude, there's no way.
But not for the hiring.
There's no way
process.
he turns down this job. To get offered a head coaching job with
the
Justin
best
Herbert,
opening
Derwin James, Joey. There's no way.
Yeah.
So I think this was just meant to be from the outset. This is what they wanted. Ninja Telesco didn't say anything, so that's why we're in this position, and we all look like
nobody said
goofballs and dum-dums because we had no idea.
Right. Thank you, Ross. Always good to hear from you. Next, we've got Brian LaRoe, who asked the question, where does Daboll end up, do you think? All bad teams, yeah? Just stay in Buffalo. Stoked all the same. Looking forward to seeing what Staley does.
That was a good one, dude. You're on fire. You're throwing out some new shit today. I love it. Keeping it fresh.
I'm on off the cuff, baby. That's
keeping
how
it fresh.
roll.
I like it. Dude, what are the two teams available? Heuston and Philadelphia?
Yeah, the Eagles and the Texans.
Yeah.
Two of the most toxic organizations right now.
And in Houston, Deshaun Watson's not playing. He's not answering the team's phone calls. Those are just toxic things. In this situation, if you're making to the AFC Championship game, you're staying with that team. There's, you lost out on this possible head coaching positions because your team's too good this year.
Wait till next year.
So just wait till next year, and I'm sure there'll be some openings.
Yeah.
The pastures that are out there are not greener. So stick with this playoff team, and who knows? I mean, Buffalo might be ending up in the Super Bowl. I'm kind of hoping, because
that'd be awesome.
It would just be cool to see a new team.
I'm so Bills right now. It's not even funny. Just for the next 2 weeks.
Well, and we did that one crossover podcast, and that guy was awesome.
That's true.
I'm hoping that he gets his W.
It's always fun to see on Twitter those crazy Bills fans go flying through tables and snapping arms and legs and shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's hardcore football.
We all want to see Josh Allen go through 3 burning tables. That would be amazing. So thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Next, we've got Mike Nava, a.k.a. Mike FK7, who asked the question. How do you guys feel about Staley? Also, how do you feel about the coaching staff he could bring in? I'm excited and hyped for the pick, even though we were expecting Daboll. Can't wait for the next season and bolt TF up.
Can you say I'm excited and hyped again in that voice?
I'm excited and hyped again.
Oh, that's perfect.
So good. I'm excited about the way that our roster's built right now and the youth that we have. I think it just mends with a young coaching staff. Like it melts together. Like it just makes sense. Like if Phillip Rivers was at quarterback and he's older than our head coach, yeah, that's a bit weird. But like with the staff that we have, with the roster that we have, I think that he's going to bring in a very young staff. Maybe with the exception of maybe he has a guy that he really looked up to, that he coached with somewhere along the way, that he wants to bring in as kind of a mentor. But other than that, I think the majority of his staff is going to be young guys. And I think that fits well with our young team. I mean, you have Derwin James still on his rookie contract. You have Justin Herbert on his rookie contract. Joey Bosa just signed his big time contract off of his rookie contract.
Allen.
We have a very young team, so Keenan's our vet really in the whole team.
Yeah.
And I think that he's going to really be benefit from the energy that the young staff is going to bring. So I think he's going to bring in a young staff, and I think it's perfect for the way that our roster is built right now.
I want 100%. The best special teams in the goddamn league next year. That's all I want, guys. That's really just want to kick some ass in special teams. So my question on that, just to jump to the side a little bit, like it kind of, when a new coach comes in, there's no ties to previous players. There's no like allegiances in certain ways. Like, yeah. I'm a little worried for Money Badger, to be honest. Like if you're a coach coming in and looking at your kicker,
you just look at stats.
You look at stats and you look at the fact that he doesn't kick off. Like just stepping back and looking at it for a hot second, like that isn't. Yeah, I wouldn't be the most comfortable if I were the Money Badger.
For sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys in the team that, and I think that in the NFL for the most part, loyalties it just doesn't carry much weight. People get cut left and right, and Mark Ingram just got cut by the Ravens. And so it's like, you just kind of get cut left and right, but even more so, he is not going to have any ties to, Money Badger won us this game this year at that time. Mm-hmm. I agree. I think there's going to be some changes for sure.
Big time changes. Yeah. I'm all for getting a younger staff. None of this mentor business. I don't want a situation where you've got somebody that is your best friend and you don't want to fire him because he's your best friend. Like, just get the right staff in there to help this team and get them to where they need to go. And if it's a young staff, I think that's great. I mean, it's a new football game out there there's new things happening all the time. I'd rather a fresh set of eyes, honestly, than somebody who's used to playing older football.
Yep. Run, pass, run, pass.
Yeah. No more of that, please.
Well, I thought about that the other day. The coach Lynn hire. I was thinking about who we were going to hire as a head coach and like how we hired Coach Lynn. He came into a Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon team. Yeah. Like run heavy, play action, pass, sit in the pocket kind of offense. And it made sense with Coach Lynn. Mm-hmm. But then once Phil and Melvin both were gone, it's like that offense, that scheme, that philosophy just does not make sense anymore.
It didn't adjust.
So I think it just even more so is the perfect time to make that change. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think the whole fan base is just excited about this.
I think we support it 100%. Excellent. Thank you, Mike. Always good to hear from you. Next, we've got Patrick, who's apparently a miserable Charger fan of some kind, who asked the question.
Yeah, seems like most of us would like to keep Pep and elevate him to OC in the incoming staff. If it's not Pep, who would you want at OC? Keep Steichen? Steichen!
Dude, here's the interesting thing is like, new coach, new wholesale changes, new everything. Like, I get the idea of wanting to keep some familiarity with Herbert. I get it. But at what point is that a detriment? Is it one of those things where you get into a year and then you have to cut him, kind of like what happened to Wisenhunt? Like, that's, let's just clean it up now. We don't have any ties. So I think Pep I'd like to see Pep. I don't know if that's a offensive coordinating position or if they bring in somebody else and just keep Pep as maybe he becomes the passing coordinator. Now that we have a running coordinator, he could be the passing coordinator. Mm-hmm. Give him some new sweet little nifty title, little extra per diem every day. I don't know. I'd like to see Pep stay. Steichen, not sure. I heard that one story. I don't know if I told you guys that. I think Austin Eckler was talking about, Herbert getting pissed off because Steichen was just in his ears, like reminding him about the play over and over. And Justin was like, I got it. And then he just got kind of pissed off at Steichen. So It's interesting, an interesting dynamic. I think there might be some damage to Steichen after last season in terms of just kind of, just how it kind of fell apart at the end and the way that he got kind of strong-armed, I'd imagine, by Coach Lynn a lot. So I don't know. I think maybe moving on from Steichen, but keeping Pep is kind of my perspective.
We'll see what happens. I know Pep's getting interest from other teams on getting in their offensive coordinating
and so
position.
is Steichen.
And so is Steichen. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't mind keeping Steichen, and I'd love to keep Pep because there just seems to be a lot of hype around him, but time will tell, I think. So thank you, Patrick. Next, we've got Bobby Calderon, a.k.a. B. Calderon 3, who asked the question, what type of culture do you see Staley bringing to this team? Do you think he'll be struggling getting buy-in from the current roster? I think it's a hire that fits real well. It's the innovative hire that Spanos called out, and it's got me stoked for next season. Go Bulls! Yeah!
Dude, that was one of those voices where I totally tuned out the question, and I was just listening to you.
Yeah.
Shit.
I was just like, how are you going to say this? I don't think there's going to be any trouble with buy-in. I think he was 1 year as a Rams DC without any DC experience before that. And
people call him genius after that experience too, by the way.
Right. As a player, when you get a new head coach, like all the Rams players on the defense, they went and Wikipedia'd Brandon Staley and like, what is this guy about? And like, damn, this guy's never really done anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he still got buy-in from all those guys.
In 1 year.
So like in 1 year, yeah, and they were the top defense in the league. So I don't think a buy-in is going to be his struggle whatsoever. The type of culture he brings, we don't know because he's never been the head coach of a team before. You've never seen his culture in action. As a coordinator, as an assistant, you buy into the head coach's culture and you have to, or else you're not going to be a good assistant. So this will be, it's all going to be new. I have no idea what kind of a culture he's going to bring. Obviously it fits in alignment with Tommy T and the Spanos family. Hoping it is one that is competitive, is put teams away, is score a lot of points and never stop playing football.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. Always good to hear from you. Next, we've got Gnarly Ray Johnson, who asked the question, if Staley decides to run 3-4, does that change our plans in the draft? Maybe spending high pick for a good nose tackle or linebackers? I hope not. I hope the goal is still an offensive lineman, like where we feel like we need it most.
It'd be interesting. Like, yeah. Kyle, I think this is the one you're referring to. This question is like the defense is going to change so dramatically. Like, do you bring in these linebackers from other teams? Do you draft them? Like, what are your thoughts, Kyle?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I think overall, looking at our roster, that you need to adjust. You need to address the offensive line, bottom line. Going from a 4-3 to a 3-4, personnel has to change. Because you don't need that many defensive linemen anymore if you're running only 3 on at a time. So something has to change, definitely. As far as like addressing nose tackle, Linval Joseph's your boy. That guy can run that zero technique nose tackle, no problem. And then you could run into Justin Jones as that change of pace. He'll stunt him a little bit more. He's not a huge body, but he can still get the job done a little bit.
He's a pretty big boy.
Yeah.
But compared to Linval, he's not the biggest boy.
Yeah, nobody's big. But I don't think that everything completely changes. There'll probably be a couple of picks throughout the draft that you're like, that's weird. That didn't seem like a huge need. But because of the change in scheme, maybe there is. But I don't think first round, I'm still hoping that we draft an offensive lineman, unless there's just a serious somebody falls to that 13 pick that you didn't see. But I think for sure offensive line has to be addressed no matter what defensive scheme you're running.
And I think this is going to be a really, really interesting year because they just announced that they're not having the combine in person this year. So this is a crazy year where they're going to have like private workouts, and they're going to figure out the testing and like the medical and all that stuff. So this is going to be I think there's going to be a lot of swing and misses by a lot of teams because they don't have their standard process.
Dude, I don't think so. I think there's going to be more hits. I think they're going to be less skewed by this stupid draft and you're going to actually look at what a football player can do.
So you think it'll be more football-based analysis?
Yeah. It's going to be less, you run a good 40 and a cool cone drill and you
cool
can jump
story,
high.
Bro.
And more
cool cone drill, bro.
Like it's going to, it's going to be like, oh, wow, you're good at football. Yeah, let's draft that guy. I think there's going to be less misses, to be honest.
I like it. Maybe.
Which is a good thing all around for everyone.
But it's also, you just can't, some of those deeper guys that didn't get a lot of, playing time. There's a lot of conferences that didn't play a lot. They didn't get opportunities. So there's going to be some Austin Ecklers out there that aren't going to necessarily be around, potentially getting picked up. So it'll be a question of how good the Chargers have done in previous years of analyzing players and who they have. But, a lot of that analysis was based on different schemes and a different team. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with the draft this year. It just throws a whole wrench into the whole gears that is the NFL preparation.
Awesome. Thank you, Gnarly Ray. Love it. Love the name. Next on the board, we've got an old favorite, Tyler Foffey, a.k.a. the Iowa Bolt fan 54, who asked the question. I'm pumped up for Staley and the direction of our team. I don't believe offense will suffer simply because we have a quote-unquote defensive-minded coach. Likely, why did we pull the trigger with Staley versus someone like Daboll? Did Daboll's game against the Ravens have an effect? Or maybe some statements Daboll made about his future coaching staff he'd hire? I don't know. There was a lot of weird Daboll business that was coming out prior to us learning about Staley. One was like an article from back in like 2011 about how he was dogging Colt McCoy over at the Cleveland Browns, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was the OC in Cleveland.
Yeah, just came off as like an asshole to a lot of the team. I mean, granted, this was back in 2011, and obviously things can change. There was also mention of him hiring a very diverse coaching staff, which I was all for. Seemed to be getting some mixed reviews from some other fans,
which is weird. I don't know why that makes any.
Considering the year that we just had, like, I don't understand why that would be a problem for somebody. I don't know what the reasoning was for Daboll. Obviously, these guys are so tight-lipped about who they are going to hire. We're never going to know why they didn't hire some of these other guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It will just be an opportunity for Daboll to make a bigger change next year. I mean, he's got. If anything, I think it's kind of good for Daboll because he's had this one successful season with the Buffalo Bills. Looking at his prior stints, they weren't all that great.
Dude, it's one of those things like these head coaching positions. You got to strike while the iron's hot. What if the Buffalo offense does not look very good next year? A couple offensive linemen go down. Something bad happens. Like, I think this is kind of
true.
Bad news for Daboll. Like, this is his best season as an offensive coordinator so far.
Well, it goes into that whole conversation of it's kind of sucks. Like, if you're a head coach candidate to go deep in the playoffs, you miss out on those second interviews.
Yeah.
And then the job is gone. So it's like, I don't know. It seems it doesn't seem very fair to me that if your team's good, you don't get to get hired. And so other teams are scared they're going to miss out. So then they just hire who they have.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case with the Chargers.
No. I mean, I think I just saw that Bieniemy was getting an interview with Houston, even though he's continuing on in the playoffs.
That's because no one wants to coach
right?
Houston.
They're like, wait, he'll take our call?
Like, he's going to come in for an interview? Sweet.
Put him on speaker. All right.
Seriously.
Thank you, Tyler. Always good to hear from you. Next, we've got Michael Anthony, who asked the question, how do you guys feel about Staley? I'm just concerned about the potential revolving door at OC for the duration of his tenure as head coach and how that might affect Herbert. You guys think that's an issue? Thank you. Love the show.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
Life is like a box of chocolate, Lieutenant Dan. She tastes like cigarettes.
She tastes like cigarettes. Kyle, you already kind of touched on this one. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, like we said, if that's an issue, I'm willing to.
I love the issue. I love that problem.
Yeah, I like that problem. I don't know. It's just, I like the idea of a defensive minded head coach. probably because I'm a defensive guy more. But yeah, I don't know. I don't worry about the turnover. Justin Herbert's the smartest quarterback in the league. I think guy's a freaking doctor pretty much. I think he'll be able to roll with the punches and come to a point in his career where he's like, hey, new guy, this is what we do around here. Hey, just give me some options. I'll go up there and I'll call a play.
I would love if he, that just sounds like
that was the terminology he
new
used.
Guy.
Hey, freshman.
A new guy. I get it. You got a playbook.
Go get me a burrito, Frosh.
Thank you, Michael. Good to hear from you. And last but not least, an old favorite here at Charger Chat. It's Karen. Love you, Karen.
Love you, Karen.
And Karen's got this to say. Not a question, just a comment. Staley better not act like McVay. That's all I'm saying. Coming this summer. Karen.
Staley, rosé. No, we're not getting rosé. He's going to be
not, man.
Bud heavy, Bud Light, beer drinking coach. Hopefully, maybe.
Would you take McVay if it means the NFC or AFC championship every other year?
Well, what's wonderful about that question is that we're never going to have the opportunity to take him. So I'm going to say no because he's McVay rosé.
I'm just saying if Staley acts like that, but we go to the AFC championship every other year, is that okay?
But I'm not exactly.
We're not the ones that have to deal with it.
Yeah, like this is something.
This is a hard no.
This is a hard no. I think, like I said earlier, I think this guy is going to learn from how lame McVay was and be less lame. I haven't even heard his press conference yet.
Knows.
Oh yeah, if we watched it, he watched it, and yeah,
he listens to us. He knows what we think.
He's in the room every day. I guarantee you, if you're in a room with that guy all the time, you're gonna get annoyed by him, and you're not gonna do that. So that's just the way I think it's gonna go.
Thank you, Karen. Love you. Thank you to everybody that reached out to us on Ask Twitter. Appreciate each and every single one of you. Love you all. And lastly, we're going to go out now on a fan focus. And this seems like a pretty unique one, Kevin. Who do we have this week?
Yeah, so we had somebody from over the pond, somebody unique, also has a podcast. So let's take a peek. All right, guys, we are back with another fan focus, and this week we have a very special one. We have Elliot from the Charged Up Bolts podcast. Thanks for coming on, Elliot.
Thanks for having me, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, And as you can tell, Elliot is not in the United States. Where are you at, Elliot?
So I live in Lancashire, which is in the north of England.
Awesome, dude. So let's just get, right off the bat. So how did you become a Charger fan out in England? Because I know, American football isn't the most popular thing out there. So how did you come into, American football and the Chargers?
Yeah, so it's a bit different for us. So obviously no links to San Diego, no links to America in particular, but NFL's getting big over here, and it has done for maybe a decade now. Back in 2010, I was going to the NFL at Wembley when it was coming over. Awesome. I saw Rivers just miss out in that shootout against Breeze at Wembley. And I was doing a bit of research into who I wanted to support. Open book. You don't often get to choose your team. Yeah. So I was looking into it and I loved two things. I loved everything that the Chargers Powder Blues came with. And I love Rivers. He got me. His attitude and his cockiness I adored. And I mean, I was unlucky. I started supporting the team in 2011. So just a year out to 2009, we last won the AFC West. So I've seen nothing but misery.
Yeah. Well, it's going to turn around. It's going to happen. Eventually it will come around. And now that we have Herbert, things are looking pretty promising. So, tell us a little bit about your podcast. I know you're, it's so awesome because when I started, listening to the Chargers and doing all that, there weren't a lot of podcasts. There weren't a lot of things going on. But now we have a lot of really awesome podcasts and a lot of really cool people and a lot of cool takes on it. So what was tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, so we are the pretenders, the new boy on the scene, really. Yeah. I'm the same as you. I've been going for 10 years as a fan, and there wasn't a lot to go on in the early days. There's tons to go on. If I ever drive anywhere, COVID permitting, I have tons of stuff, your podcast, loads lined up. We started off because there's quite a big movement for Chargers fans over here in the UK and Europe.
Awesome.
You know, we just beat the Titans over here in Wembley a couple of years ago. We met up, we got going, and we realised there was no global sort of international Chargers. It was more, you know, San Diego based or Americans like yourselves. And so we've got a website, we've got a magazine we send out on a quarterly basis to whoever wants it. And we thought, you know what, we're going to just add a little something different, a bit of an international flavour to the podcast, a little bit tongue in cheek, a little bit more random opinions, but we thought we could add something. And it's nice. There's so much content out there for the Chargers.
That's so awesome, man. Yeah, like I travel a lot for work, so you know, I've been in London and, you know, trying to find Charger fans, and it wasn't that easy to find. So it's so great that you're like pulling everyone together and you're creating our own little fan base. And that's what I love about the Chargers right now is that we do have a lot of fans, and everyone doesn't take us seriously because not everyone shows up to the games. But there are a lot of Charger fans sitting in front of TVs cheering on the team. So it's awesome you're doing that.
Oh, thanks, mate. You know, the content out there is just improving. And I remember, you know, the first game I ever watched regular season for the Chargers against the Vikings 2011, and Percy Harvin, first kick of the game, Nate Kading to Percy Harvin for a Vikings return kick touchdown. And there was one podcast ranting and raving about it. And now we just have this vibrant community. And it's so positive. Yeah, it's a joke. People say, oh, you've got no fans. And when I went to Wembley against the Titans, you couldn't move for Chargers fans. So it's quality. It's a good time to be a Charger fan at the moment.
And I love it, dude. In all honesty, like your accent, I feel like everything you say is a little more poignant and a little more I take more seriously. I don't know what it is. American accents are not as cool as, you know, British accents. I love it.
I don't know. We sort of see it the other way around. You know, we take it a little seriously, but I love listening to a good American accent as well. So I think it's a bit of what you don't know makes you better.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So let's get into a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the season and some of the, you know, and with that in mind, some of the players you are really hoping we can bring back that are kind of, you know, free agents.
Yeah, I think it was disappointing, wasn't it? We watched Hard Knocks. How much did we love Anthony Lynn over his barbecue with his cigar?
Yeah.
And then we all turned on him.
So quickly.
And I think he exposed himself for being a man motivator and not a technical experienced coach. I think he got promoted too quickly.
Yeah.
And you know, they were close losses. So we could have been looking at playoffs this year. I don't think we played particularly well, but I don't think we were as bad as the big run of losses suggests. Massive disappointment, but I think you cannot look past Herbert's season, the experience he got. You know, Anthony Lynn's greatest thing he did was stabbing Tyra Taylor in the chest.
A little horror movie from Coach.
That's it. Yeah. So they can make a film out of it. But you know, I was really pleased with elements. Part of the Chargers was just underperforming on defense. I'm glad Gus Bradley's on his way out and off to the Raiders, where we can pick on his predictable defense. But I'm looking forward, and I'm thinking actually we're not a million miles away from a good, experienced coach coming in and taking us to the playoffs. And I think you have to look at free agents. You asked me. You cannot miss out on re-signing Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
The tight end draft class is average. The free agent list is dreadful. Do you want Jonnu Smith coming in as your number one tight end? No, thank you. So sign Hunter Henry, and I like Anderson. My boy, you know, Donald Parham, love him. So it's a nice tight end class if you have the TE1 that Henry is.
Couldn't agree more. And to go back on one of the things you were talking about with, you know, how Lynn was exposed, I think the biggest reason for that is everyone kind of took for granted Phillip Rivers and all of the coaching he was doing on the field. So when that's taken away, you're used to having this guy being able to coordinate everything. That's when it kind of fell apart for him. So it was hard. We were trying to hold on to be fans of his for a while, but it's just kind of, he just kept shooting himself in the foot and not getting rid of these guys that were, you know, running awful special teams. And it was just a domino effect. So, you know, I think now it's time to look forward to, like, and we're close, man. We're close to finding out who our new coach is. So what are your thoughts? Who are you kind of leaning towards now that we've kind of narrowed it down?
There's an obvious choice. I think all Chargers fans at this point are coming behind one name. We're excited for Jason Garrett to be the head coach of the Chargers.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, I got you there. No, for me, actually, there are two names, and I wouldn't be unhappy with either. And it depends on the direction we decide. I like Staley of the Rams. He changes dressing room in SoFi. He comes over and he takes the pieces of an elite defense to a great new level because he can adapt. And they were just beaten by a better Packers team this weekend. But I would prefer, the man I think we all start to want, which is Brian Daboll. I think it's such an easy transition for him. He comes over from a quarterback that is not unlike Justin Herbert. He comes over from taking an offense. Every single place he's been, the Browns, the Dolphins, he has elevated his team season on season, his players. And I like that. I'm excited about that. I think, I'm not going to say it's a done deal, but I'm hearing good things.
It feels pretty close. And the thing that I was like so excited about was watching that Bills game, and they threw 85% of the offensive plays were passing. It's like that goes against everything us as Charger fans have seen. We've all wanted it. Our biggest asset on offense now has become Herbert. So if you have a guy that's willing to sling it like that and put his quarterback in a position to really take the game over, that's just exciting to me.
Hugely exciting. I mean, how many times you have to break away from the shackles of the old NFL. And I think Anthony Lynn, running backs coach, he feels like you have to establish the run. Herbert's chasing down the rookie yards thrown. And fourth quarter against the Winnings game, he's still trying to establish the run with Steichen. Yeah. Give me a break. If your quarterback is elite and you think he can throw it 85% of the time, go and do it. Would you be upset if that was Herbert in exactly the same situation? You wouldn't.
Yeah, it's just exciting. I'm just the thought that you just need to have a new mindset coming in, and I just don't understand the running game, and with our offensive line, that obviously something we need to address and work on. We've needed to address and work on it for years and years. We've had Band-Aids on the offensive line, and not people that really belong there, in my opinion. So like why you would establish the run, why you're sticking to the run when your asset is this, is just mind blowing. So it's nice to see that with Daboll, which is looking like probably maybe when we air this, he is, who knows? We'll see. Doubt it. But, so we'll see. So, I wanted to thank you again for coming on. It's so nice to and the biggest thing for us is reaching out and meeting new people that love the Chargers. I feel isolated in the middle of the country, no Charger fans around me. So getting to talk to you across the pond and us all, this is just awesome, man. So we really appreciate you coming on. And why don't you give everybody, just your info on how to check you guys out on social media and your podcast.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Great. We're looking forward to having you on ours. You can find our website at chargedupbolts.com. And if you want to follow us, we're at Twitter at chargeduppod. We love getting listener questions. We love interacting. Thank you for having me on, my friend. Man, I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. And if you want to have me on or have one of us on, we'd love to come join you. Can't wait to have you on, my friend. All right, man. Bolt up. Talk to you later. Bolt up.
All right. Well, I'm subscribing because I could listen to that guy talk all day long.
Yeah, Elliot, I love you. Yeah. You could talk about whatever you want, and I'll listen to you talk. Elliot.
Yeah, the fact that you're talking about the Chargers is just that much better. That you have knowledge of the Chargers and you can speak about it so eloquently with no we sound so none of that in your vocabulary. Don't we sound so dumb now? Big dumb American. Oh, dumb. But
I do want to say you guys had now seen how the cake is made. We recorded this literally 2 days ago, and now we weren't talking as if we knew who it was. So those apologies for that. But he knew, he said it. He had the magic ball. He was feeling Staley. So yeah,
Staley
called it.
Go check him out. I'm literally subscribing now because I want to hear his 100%. Takes. Very interesting, really cool guy, and we'll go hop on his podcast and do some crossovers with some other Charger fans. It's awesome.
That would be fantastic. Excellent. Thank you so much, Elliot.
Thanks, man,
for stopping by. Thanks to everybody that reached out. Thanks to Brandon Staley for deciding to come to the Chargers team. This is the start of a new generation of the Chargers, my friend. This is exciting. There's so much new, there's so much unknown, and it'll all unfold as the days go by and we get back to that next season. I guess we have a Super Bowl to get through this year. I guess who gives a shit? But
Chiefs better not be.
Oh my God!
As long as the Chiefs aren't in it, I'm good.
Browns.
All right. That's going to do it for us this week at Charger Chat, folks. Don't forget to bolt up because we're ready for any squad, any place.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
Bye, Lieutenant Dan Ice Cream.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Hey, everyone. Tom Telesco here. Some of you were probably pretty impressed how we didn't let any news leak about which head coach candidate we were leaning towards this offseason. Also on whether or not we would re-sign Joey Bosa. Well, it's a skill. That's why this offseason I'm opening the Tom Telesco School of Keeping Your Big Yap Shut. We offer classes in buttoning your lip, shutting your gob, putting a sock in it, and how to prepare a nice cup of shut the f*** up. So if you need to brush up on not spilling the beans, then come on down to Tom Telesco's School of Keeping Your Big Yap Shut. You'll be glad you did.